I'm Russel Kruger, the owner of the Ocean View Hotel in Coffee Bay, and Jemima's here in East London. And I'm passionate about the Wild Coast in terms of getting it back on the map. You guys are on your way down to Hermanus.
Yes.
So when one looks and understands the tourism space and you see what's happening on the Western Cape front and down the Garden route, we believe that the Wild Coast has got so much to offer in terms of a global destination, but it just really needs to be tapped into, and we need exposure, we need collaboration, and obviously just passionate people who want to get the Wild Coast on the global map. So that's who I am, and that's what I'm busy doing. So all good.
Where were you born and raised?
I was born in East London. My parents used to live in Carmarth, which is an hour away, right next to Morgan Bay, as you know. And my love for the Wild Coast actually started from those days. We were on the Kye River, so Carmarth is literally on the Kye River. And we grew up in Carmarth until I was about eight or nine, I think. And then my folks got involved with the Wild Coast and the Transkei Development Corporation. So we spent the better part of our childhood at Seagulls and Mazeppa Bay. So as a kid, we grew up with a fishing rod in our hands and just a love for the Wild Coast. So that's really how this passion came about.
How would you explain a childhood in the Wild Coast versus a childhood in any other part of South Africa?
I think freedom is what comes to mind. You know, we didn't really have the opportunity to sit inside. In fact, in my childhood, we didn't have TV. So what comes to mind is just the capacity to be able to explore. I remember as a kid, we were always out looking for something, and every day was an adventure. For me, fishing became my first love as a kid. I think I started fishing at about 9 or 10 years old, and by the time I was about 12, I used to sell fish to my dad. So I'd use his tackle, his bait, and charge him 150 per kilo for the fish, which was quite awesome. And it really just allows you to develop a different structure in your life. The kids, I've got 5 kids, so when I compare my kids living in town and I see how they just function with these things, iPads, and it's all electronic, and the kids sort of on the Wild Coast, when you see how they live, it's a completely different paradigm. So it's just that sense of adventure and freedom is what comes to mind for me, you know.
When and how did you get involved at the Ocean View Hotel?
I've been involved in properties and property development and sales as well. So I had a business that was doing real estate sales and management, and we sold a property in Coffee Bay, and the previous owner, Mr. Ian Crawford, phoned me and he said, look, would you like to sell the resort? So I said, yeah, of course we'd like to, let's go and have a look. And when I got there, I realized that because the actual ownership of the resort was in question, it would be quite difficult to sell. And I saw it as an opportunity to buy the hotel, because I believed that there would naturally be a process where the litigation would end, and the opportunity to grow that hotel into something special was really at the top of my mind. So in terms of how we got involved, there was a lot of prayer, and we had to make a plan to raise the finance because we couldn't get a bond, and it happened. And now we really are just excited to see what's going to happen in the next chapter.
You know this Ocean View has potential to be even more special.
Absolutely.
What do you mean by that?
As a child, my cousin used to run both the hotels, the Ocean View, the one that we bought, and the old, what they call the Lagoon View well, it's the Lagoon Hotel, which is the one in the middle of the little town there. And in those days, the Wild Coast was untapped, and it was just, even from a child, it's almost a mystical adventure that you have in Coffee Bay, because there's so much to do. You've got these beautiful beaches, untapped cliffs and surroundings that are just absolutely stunning. And when I looked at that, I thought, as an adult, I thought, there's no reason why this area cannot develop into something globally competitive in the tourism sector. So for me, I believe that the key is really to get the collaboration with all the players. There's so many wonderful people in that area that need work, and for me, there's a capacity to be able to make a difference. And it starts with tourism, but then the whole thing goes out into the ecotourism, where there's opportunities to help create sustainable markets with the communities in terms of buying products from them. And the next thing is obviously bringing in tourists into the adventure side, because we have opportunities with mountain biking and hikes, and even abseiling. We've got a whole lot of wonderful things on the agenda. And unfortunately, we were caught with COVID like everybody else around the world, but this year we had two really cool events that have been staged. They'll be starting next year, hopefully, that we don't have any issues with COVID. But the one is this Transkei Trek, which it's going to have about 150 riders for 3 days. And again, that's going to go through the community, and there's going to be quite a lot of giving back to the community. And we're really trusting that those events are going to create a lot more interest in terms of mountain biking in the area. I'm sure you saw some of the photos with the Omana Wild Ride, which is a ride that starts at Morgan Bay and ends at Umgazi, and that also has normally two full days of 150 cyclists a time. And what happens is, naturally, the guys that are doing the event want to bring their families back. So from a tourism perspective, we're also working in collaboration with the communities to get guides up and riding, to be able to take people up the coast, up the entire coast. So there's quite a big eco chain that is sort of being worked on and collaborated with at the moment. So we're quite excited about what's going to happen over the next couple of years. So it's all good.
If you'd have to explain the Wild Coast in South Africa to an international tourist before they even ever came to South Africa, how would you explain it?
I would explain it as possibly being one of the coolest off the beaten track destinations in the world. We have 230 kilometers of pristine coastline, wild, untouched literally, and for a tourist to come and experience this, they're actually truly experiencing what South Africa is all about. Coming to South Africa to go and see, there's a mountain somewhere in Cape Town, I think, and there's a national park. The tourists have fundamentally understood that South Africa is about the Table Mountain and about the Kruger National Park, but you can come to the Wild Coast and you can see lions in East London. You can then get down to the coast and feel the authenticity of what South Africa is all about. The people are friendly, warm, hospitable. The culture is an inviting one. I don't know if you guys had the opportunity to go and visit some of the locals and have a cultural experience. That's something that you must do the next time, and just see and feel and taste what it's like. The Xhosa people are wonderful people. They're family orientated people, and when you start understanding the culture, there's a love amongst the Xhosa people that we as a global community can learn from. And for me, it's just a case of just experiencing that openness. Did you have an opportunity to be on the beach on your own?
Yes.
I'm sure you did. So that's something that in the world you don't really have, because most of the beaches are so packed. It's wild. there's not many places in the world where you go and you have wild horses and donkeys and cattle on the beach. It's something special. The water, I don't know, when you were, did you go hole in the wall when it was clear, or it had been raining? So yeah. So I mean, hole in the wall as a global phenomena, when you look at what it's like when you've had a couple of days of west wind, the water is crystal clear, it's absolutely stunning. You've got this majestic mountain behind you with a hole in it, and it's just something that you can't experience anywhere else in the world. And for me, I believe the Wild Coast is so ready for tourism. So we also need to educate tourists on how to get through there, and that's why I'm pretty excited about what you guys are up to. Doing the Wild Coast in a small car is doable. The plan now is really just to be able to enable tourists to come in, get to Sinsa, or come to East London, get to Sinsa, drive up the coast, get to Morgan Bay, and literally just hop through all the hotels. And there's so many experiences. It's not only the hotels, there's backpackers, there's some authentic little village rural opportunities. So for me, the question that you asked is, not everybody knows how to explain, how to get to experience the Wild Coast. So what my passion is about right now is to be able to collaborate with everybody on the Wild Coast and get you to do whatever you want to do. So if you want to come to the Wild Coast and enjoy it on a bicycle, you must be able to do that, and understand that it's a safe destination. The problem that we have is, just because it's so rural, your GPS doesn't always work, so there's a lot of other ways of getting through the Wild Coast without having to rely on a GPS that's confused. So for me, the trick now is just to be able to get anybody onto one platform, to be able to understand that you can do whatever it is. All you've got to do is plug into what we're busy establishing now, which is you can hashtag Wild Coast ZA, and within the next couple of months we should have put all of this together. And the Wild Coast Holiday Association will also be, and has been, very integral in terms of establishing an easy access into the Wild Coast. So hopefully the next time you guys come up here, you'll be able to experience it on your own and be able to choose what you want to do in terms of just the authenticity of what you are wanting to make of your holiday. And that's really what it's all about. When I considered buying the hotel, my original thought process was, there's absolutely no ways we can do this on our own. I've come from a franchise background in terms of my business, and the simplicity of doing things in a whole makes a lot more sense. When you start understanding, the hotels on the Wild Coast are generally smallish resorts where your capacity is about 140 plus minus people. There's absolutely no ways any of us can compete from a global perspective, from just pure marketing. Marketing costs money, as you know, and to be able to just collaborate together with all the players makes a lot more sense. The other thing that I'd love to see is a Wild Coast franchise. So we've got the Wild Coast Holiday Association, and effectively it's not really about the money per se, it's more about buying into a culture, buying into a world-class tourism culture where we all are singing off the same hymn sheet. You can't have a person arriving at one resort and having an experience that is sort of a little bit off the beaten track, and then the next experience is literally on a 5-star level. So the Wild Coast generally has been an authentic, rustic experience, and obviously you've got different gradings, but the experience is what it's all about. And for me, if we're all buying to the same culture with regards to creating that wow experience, when you get there, for me, I love the expression of people when they get to the destinations. I mean, now we're spoiled, we've got roads, roads with a thing called tar on them. Although the tar have potholes, we've got accessibility. In the days gone, there were gravel roads. and it was always a big adventure to get to the Wild Coast. And, when you got there, and if you didn't have a puncher or some sort of issue, it was almost a miracle, And for me now, it's really a case of just getting people to understand that you can, together, we all are collaborating. And that's what for me, it's been important to work with the other resorts. As you know, all of us we're in it for the same purpose, and that's really to bring people to the Wild Coast. The more people that come to the Wild Coast and experience what we have on offer, the more we'll want to explore the rest of the coast. So it's not about just coming to Coffee Bay. It's about starting at the top at Port Edward, coming down, experiencing the cliffs, experiencing the waterfalls. You've got the waterfall bluff, which you guys, I don't know if you had the experience of seeing. There's so much more to see, but it's off the beaten track. And when you do this, you need to have a bit of time, or come again next year. So the whole process, in terms of what I'm trying to say to you, is coming to the Wild Coast, spending 4 days in Coffee Bay is only enough to feel and touch and taste Coffee Bay. You've got to go and spend 4 days at Port St. John's. You've got to spend 4 days in Mwiki. You've got to spend 4 days at Mgazi and so on, at Mazeppa, Kobin. All the places are absolutely unique. The Treneries, Wavecrest Experience, Seagulls, they are all offering something different. But it's all about that warm. It was the old Transkei, which is now the Wild Coast, and there's this connotation that the Transkei experience. It's you youngsters call it the TK experience. It's just something different. It's unique. You'll never find this anywhere else in the world. So for me, getting back to your question about a single unit or being part of a whole, that's been without a doubt what we have to do. And we are all on the same page. The hotel owners, the cottage owners, the guys that are doing the adventure activities, we all mates. And it's really important that we really talk to one another. In the old days, they used to have these radios. So, it wasn't a VHF, there were those UHF radios. The various hotel owners would just pick up the radio and say, listen, I've got a group of 15 people walking over, they're coming for lunch. And that's the experience. Today, mountain biking is the new golf. So for a person to be, for example, at Morgan Bay and shoot up quickly to experience Seagulls, Treneries and Wavecrest, it's not a big deal. That's what it's all about. And for me, I'd like to see people just having little bites. This year do 30 Ks, next year do another 30 Ks, for example, and so on. So we've got you for 4 or 5 years. How's that? It's all about coming back. And I believe that once you've tasted one resort, you're going to want to taste them all. And naturally people will find the ones that they like, and then after 5 years they can keep going back to those resorts. But that's really what it's all about.
What is one travel tip that you would give to young travelers?
Just understand that, like a wild animal, you must use your senses and be sensible when you're traveling up the Wild Coast. I've seen many young kids. We are privileged that we haven't had many incidents, but you must be sensible. Make sure that you plan your routes carefully. Understand that the roads are not all tar. Understand that your GPS isn't going to be that accurate. If you ask your GPS to guide you from Durban to the Wild Coast, it's going to take you 7 or 8 hours because they're confused. So you need to really just talk to people that have been there. At the moment, there's a whole lot of different groups that one can go on to. There's Transkei Faces and Places. There's obviously Wild Coast ZA. There's the Wild Coast Holiday Association, and there's many different platforms. And the best way to experience things is just to get authenticity from people that have experienced it before. So as a young couple, you guys, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what you've done, but you've experienced it. I purposely didn't want to tell you what to do because I wanted you to try and work it out on your own. And the reality is you can. You've just got to be sensible. Make sure you've got enough fuel. Make sure that you've got a spare tire, because often we find youngsters coming up I was one of those lastminute.com guys, and we don't even have a spare wheel, you know what I mean? So when you have a puncture, you need to obviously have another one, and really just do it. There's nothing other than getting in your car and just doing it. You know, once you're there, you see and realize how peaceful it is, and it's easy to experience. And you can literally go up the coast with a backpack, even if you wanted to, with a pair of shoes, good shoes, and walk it. So there really is just so much to offer. I think for me the wonderful thing really is, or the opportunity is, that the Wild Coast is here to explore. You know, South African tourism, we're talking about yours to explore. We believe that the Wild Coast is one of the most untapped destinations in the world. And what has also been quite sad is that a lot of the tour operators haven't experienced the Wild Coast themselves. So they would send people down in a bus. You've just been to Coffee Bay and you understand what it's all about, from Durban. So you travel from Durban in a bus, you get off the bus at 4 p.m. and then the next morning you embark on the journey again. So it doesn't do the Wild Coast any justice. What needs to happen is people need to come there with a thing called time. And if you've got time on your hands, the Wild Coast is a wonderful place. It can be frustrating if you're in a hurry. You know, there's no place you're gonna rush through the Wild Coast. It's something where time stops, it stands still, and you know, we actually encourage people to take off their watches and throw their cell phones away. I put Wi-Fi in the public areas because in the bedrooms you must talk to your wife, you know what I mean? Today you go to a restaurant and what do you see people doing? They can't even communicate anymore. You know, that you've got to be on your cell phone, you've got to be connected to the world. At the Wild Coast you get connected back to yourself, back to nature, and it's God's paradise. It's a beautiful, beautiful stretch that I've had the privilege of traveling around the world, and I really believe that when you compare some of the destinations that are globally attractive, the Wild Coast has got everything to meet them. You know, why, and I'm not knocking Mauritius, but why do South Africans rush to Mauritius? I was one of them. And you've just got this wonderful Wild Coast to explore. It's right on your doorstep, it's here, and it has everything that the rest of the world has to offer from a tourism perspective. Even Wi-Fi, how's that? Nogal. From a global perspective, I believe the Wild Coast will certainly be on the map, where we will have a lot more feet going through the Wild Coast. You know, when you understand each resort can only sort of deal with 200 or 300 people. I'm just talking about the hotels and the backpackers. You have one hotel in Cape Town or Durban that can obviously take care of 500-600 people at a time. So I don't believe the Wild Coast is ever going to get to that stage. You know, there possibly would be a couple of the resorts that would be developed, but you know, you've got the Wild Coast Sun already that's up there. In 15 years time, I would imagine there would be 2, 3, maybe 4 or 5 resorts that are a lot more enabled to take more groups. And I certainly see that South African tourism, the South African government are really also putting their weight behind developing the Wild Coast. Accessibility is a problem, as you've seen, not from a point of view of driving down, but air accessibility. For example, there should, and I believe in the next, not 15 years, in the next 2 or 3 years, I believe that all the airstrips will be recommissioned. There used to be those grass airstrips that enabled small, you know, there used to be a plane called an Islander, which they used to bring sort of, I can't remember the exact numbers, but 10 to 12 passengers. Now, to fly in from Durban, Lanseria or East London is an opportunity. So I believe that we will have that type of accessibility. You can fly into Umtata now. I believe that the aviation space is untapped in terms of even having light planes taking guys from Umtata down to the various resorts is going to be a huge opportunity. And you know, I believe that at some stage we'll have some people playing in hot air balloons going up and down the coast, because that'll be awesome. And that's again, it all takes careful planning, it takes a vision and money. So without money, nothing's going to happen. And I really also am passionate about just the capacity to change lives there, because one of the biggest challenges have been traditionally a lot of the parents left to go and work in obviously the cities and so on. So you had in a sense a generation of children that have grown up without their dads, and that's also posed some challenges. The other problem has been just lack of possible opportunities being utilized. So the opportunities to get fishing and authenticity within the fishing realm, with getting your local fishermen paid. At the moment you can't buy fish from the locals. That, I believe, needs to be carefully planned and controlled, so that the resort should be able to help the sustainable living of the guys that are there, and I believe that the next 15 years we'll see a lot more employment. Crime on the Wild Coast in relation to crime around the world is absolutely insignificant, and I say that the years and years that I've been going to the Wild Coast, obviously there's going to be petty crime. If you're going to go and leave your bag anywhere in the world, it's going to be stolen. But if you're sensible, the situation is it's in hand. The problem has been when people aren't eating. That's when you start seeing crime escalating. But I'm quite excited about the opportunities. I'm quite excited to see that if there is a crime generally on the Wild Coast, most of the times you find out that the people that the perpetrators are actually not from the community. They come down and they take chances. The community are well adversed and clearly understand that tourism is their bread and butter. So next 15 years, I believe Wild Coast tourism will be properly on the global map.
Would you like to share some ideas that you have for the Ocean View Hotel?
Yes, well, firstly, for me, we want to be able to accommodate bigger groups. So at the moment, there's two aspects that we're focusing on. One, affordability. So we currently understand that due to what's happening globally, people are battling financially. So to take a family down to the Wild Coast and spend 3 or 4 or 5 days becomes quite expensive. So we're focusing on self-catering options and camping options. So in Coffee Bay at the moment there is a campsite, well, there's a few campsites, but we're also looking at creating a cluster of campsites. We want to look at glamping, where you can come down and have a really cool camping experience, but also enjoy the facilities that the hotel has on offer. Generally around the world now, a lot of resorts have decided to go the self-catering option, giving the opportunity to go and eat in the restaurants, and it becomes a number when you're having to go through a full board, which is 3 meals a day. A lot of families today understand, I have 5 kids. For me to go and take 5 kids and pay hotel prices is very expensive. So I'd rather go and look at a place where I can choose what I'm looking for. So our plans for the future are to enable more self-catering options. Obviously the hotel option will stay. We naturally would like to expand the hotel. So at the moment we've got 34 rooms with interleading rooms, which increases it up to around about 44. Our plans are to put another 16 rooms on now, double family rooms, and also expand the conference facility to be able to host a 200-seater wedding. At the moment we can do around about 120, 140 people comfortably, but we would like to be able to host a 200-seater wedding or conference. And the other awesome thing is we also want to get a lot more involved with the community in terms of sustainability from a farming perspective, and then just the tourism side of things. You've met our partners in the tourism side of Mzor. He's really an awesome guide, and he's been enabled to really shine, and that's what it's all about. From a Coffee Bay hotel perspective, or Ocean View Hotel, our plans are to just engage in the entire Coffee Bay community. So to work not only with in our own space, but the Transkei Trek is the first big event that we're hoping is going to bring a lot more feet, and that we will share. We already work closely with the Hole in the Wall Hotel, but when you're bringing groups up, everybody benefits. So if we bring 500 people to Coffee Bay, we obviously going to share the love. At the moment, it's difficult to accommodate so many people, and we've also got the Merrill Transkei Tough, which is a 5-day adventure race starting again next year in 2021. It was scheduled for this year. Now that's a 5-day race with different disciplines, and again the same process is understood, because those guys doing the race will come back, bring their families, and that will be televised. So again, for me, Ocean View as a destination, we're part of a much bigger picture to showcase what the area has on offer, and not only Coffee Bay. It's like I said earlier, it's to showcase the entire Wild Coast, but we've got to start somewhere. And if we all on the Wild Coast have the same mentality in terms of let's showcase Wild Coast South Africa, it's going to blossom. And what you guys are doing, we encourage more bloggers, we encourage more people, young people, to come up and experience what it's all about, because the youth is where it's all at. And there's also some really wild guys at the Wild Labanzi, where they really focus on the youth as well. They're doing a lot of good in terms of youth tourism in South Africa, and we really see that growing as well. So it's all, the dots are all starting to connect, and we look forward to being competitive in the whole ecotourism space as well. That's also something that's evolving right now. So there's a lot of exciting things happening.
Tell us more about the Wild Coast ZA Association.
Yes, well, Wild Coast ZA was born recently. When I say recently, as recent as November. So we realized that the Wild Coast Holiday Association had almost become an exclusive platform that worked for the hotel owners and a few of the smaller backpacker type establishments, and the challenge was really to see what we could do to create an all-encompassing platform where everybody who has anything to do with any form of tourism on the Wild Coast could become included. So inclusion in most organizations is all about money, and we've decided to go the other way around and establish a platform that you can just share what you do, and we will then find the funding through corporate sponsorships, hopefully government, and collaboration to be able to say, right, anybody wanting to come to the Wild Coast, this is not a race or a self-seeking missile, but a platform available for free that is sponsored by various players to enable tourism on the Wild Coast to actually happen. I mean, at the moment, we've started with a light budget, but a light budget to do this is around 600,000-700,000 rand for the year, and that's really just to be able to enable the platforms to work, and so on and so forth. So what we've done is we are building a platform where we understand and believe that we can communicate to around 71,000 people a month. So we're going to be sending out a newsletter, in that newsletter, you can, as a subscriber, just go into hashtag Wild Coast ZA, and in there you can choose what you want to know. So if you're a horse rider who offers horse riding at the moment, it's done in the Carmarth area, and they are organized. And we are now saying, take what you guys do and let's see how we can expand that at the Wild Coast. So anybody doing whatever they're doing well is going to be given the opportunity to be put onto our platform, and we're going to nurture them. So our plan is to take the guards, for example, and create sustainable business units where those guards have got an opportunity to showcase themselves. And how do you do that? It's through word of mouth. So you guys understand better than I do the power of social media. So when we've got our guards taking a group up of 15 to 20 to 30 people and they have a wow experience, they're going to put it onto those platforms. And that's really what it's all about. We've enabled the services of a guy called Mike Baker, and Mike's based in Cape Town. He's literally on the doorstep of most of the globally recognized tour operators. So Mike's opening a lot of doors, and at the same time we're trying to get corporates involved. And for us to, for example, meet our budget, we need 600,000 rand, 700,000. That's 10 corporates at 60 grand a year. It's nothing. Do you know what I mean? It's nothing. People pay millions for one advert, you know. I'm hoping there's a company that sells that funny cool drink, you know, that red cool drink. We're hoping they get involved. I can't mention their names now, but we also want certain of the corporates to come in and play in this space. Again, how cool would it be to own a resort? So from a Wild Coast ZA perspective, we're saying corporates, come, get involved. There's a global opportunity here to alleviate poverty, to create pockets of tourism that are unrivaled in the world. But we've got to do it with money. And we're saying we'll go and fetch the money. We'll show the corporates what it's all about. We're hoping to get the motor dealerships interested. At the moment, when you talk about sponsorships, there's people globally that like to drive in a 4x4. Now, what better experience to come to a place and have 20, can I call them? There's Isuzu, there's Toyota, there's Mercedes-Benz, there's Mazda, it carries on, you know, Jeep, I don't know who. And we want one of those guys to say, right, we want to play in this space. We will have 10 vehicles available, or 20, or 30, imagine 100. So, you know, that's what we're talking about. The motorbike guys, you know, I'm talking to the guys, the Yamahas, the Hondas, the KTM guys, and we're saying, guys, come, get involved, own this space, because again, adventure riding is massive globally, and we really believe that with the platform being launched, speaking to 71,000 people a month starts talking to your corporates, and they're going to start saying, we are happy to participate. All we need is 10 for this year. Next year the budget's going to be bigger, because we obviously want to we want to go places. And Wild Coast ZA is also, we're launching the Wild Coast Festival, which is going to be next year, and we've got this thing over here, the Sardine Run. It's the greatest shoal in the world. So the Sardine Run literally runs up the Wild Coast. It starts happening around the Eastern Cape, and it goes up past Natal, and it's absolutely phenomenal. We have, again, from a Wild Coast ZA perspective, we want to use these platforms to launch, obviously, a lot more tourism interest. The Sardine Run is well supported, and again, you know, diving amongst the sardines with sharks going mad is what floats some people's boats. I'm not going to do that. But it's phenomenal. If you go onto our Facebook pages, the various Facebook pages in Port St. John's as well, you'll see the incredible footage that happens during the Sardine Run. The other thing that people don't know is that the Wild Coast has a show of things called whales. Have you seen them? We have dolphins, literally. Again, when the west wind blows, the water's clean, it brings the dolphins in. Generally speaking, on a daily basis, we have 2 or 3 whales frolicking in front of the hotel. Throughout most of the year, up until sort of December, we've got a wonderful variety of dolphins, whales, the activity all the way up the coast is there. You know, there was this phenomenon that was only down in Omanus area. You know, we have exceptionally beautiful footage and experiences right in front of the hotels. It's awesome. So that's also something that we're talking to the guys that do it well, and we're saying, bring the whale watching community up. We will look after them. You know, you don't even have to get on a boat. You can sit on the cliffs, and right in front of you, you've got these whales jumping. It's awesome. So, yeah, the real, can I say it's the real deal? That's what it is.
Absolutely. What is a personal motto or something that keeps you going in life?
Just do it. That Nike advert is something that I've always aspired to. Just do it. Don't be scared. For me, you've got to be fearless, and you've got to have the gonads, the balls, to just do it. Don't worry about the circumstances. Put your head down, have a vision, and do it. So, for me, the Wild Coast, we all now are starting to see and feel and taste and find that vision, that we are really at the brink of this explosion. But we want to keep it controlled. We also don't want 5 million people running up the Wild Coast and destroying it. We want to keep it tidy. We're very, very focused on sustainable tourism. That's what it's all about. You can see where we are. You know, I don't see the Wild Coast having skyscrapers in the next 15 years. God forbid. You know, we don't want to be the Durban beachfront. We want the Wild Coast to remain authentic. We want to just that simple life is what it's all about. We see you on the Wild Coast.